Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
On this episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about hats, famous quotes, and we have part one of our interview with Lisa Cable from Radfield Home Care.
Welcome, one and all, to the great show that is the Kindness Project. I'm joined by who is clearly the ringmaster of this humble circus. It's Russell Dames.
What?
And who is clearly the performing monkey? It's Chris Dames.
How dare? How dare you? Apparently you're the ringmaster and I'm the performing monkey. That's probably about right, Russ.
I like being a ringmaster.
Where's your at?
No, not that.
See, you know what? I know this is a bit of a tangent, and I'm joined by a girl who could probably either be the strong man or the bearded lady. It's Charlotte Dames. How are you doing, Charlotte?
Tar Pops. I'm really feeling appreciated.
No, you know I love you. You know I'm only kidding. Now, let's just... I'm joined, apparently, shouting from afar and playing the PlayStation. It's Sophie Dames. How you doing, Sophie? Good. Right, okay. So Sophie's here as well. We're also joined by the proper leader of this merry bunch of misfits. It's Russell. How you doing, Russ?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good. Right, let's just have a conversation. I know this is completely off tangent and it's not about circuses or ringmasters or stuff like that, but you said something, Russ, that I completely agree with. I don't do hats. I've never done hats, and I don't think unless it's like a hat with really cold and I've got to wear a hat to keep me warm. I've never ever been into hats. Now, Charlotte, you love a hat, don't you?
I've got a drawer full of hats. I've got a hat collection. There was a time where I had 2 drawers full of hats, but I had to start limiting them down, and I probably won't be allowed to take all of them to university.
2 drawers full of hats is too many hats. Isn't it?
I don't understand the purpose of a hat, though. I can understand in the winter, but you see the kids wearing their baseball
hats.
I don't. Makes no sense.
You know what, Russ? I think you might be getting old, my friend, because you've just used the phrase, you see the kids doing it, that is the sign of getting old. Why can't you do it? Just bowl around Norfolk with a baseball cap, pretending you're a street.
Russ.
Start calling people bruv.
Ankles as well, eh?
Huh?
I wear my trousers, wear my ankles as well. I thought you did. No.
I thought you did. No. So, yeah, hats. Unofficial question of the podcast listeners. How do we feel about hats? Just write in. Let us know how you feel about hats.
I like hats.
Yeah, see what? Would you ever? I'd be tempted to go formal with hats. So a top hat or I don't know, deerstalker. I don't know. What hat would you wear?
There was that time we had that thing that whenever it snowed, we wore one of those like flat caps.
See, I think flat caps, they're like a proper retro cool thing. But I don't know. Like, every time I put a hat on, I don't think it suits me. So I just don't bother. Unless it's super cold and I'm wearing a hat. Anyway, that's hats done. How's your week been, Russ?
You do wear a hat, though. You wear a helmet, don't you? That's like a hat. It's like a padded hat.
No, it's a
safety hat.
No, it's not a safety hat. I wear a cycle helmet when I'm out on my bike. I don't wear it for fashion, do I? And I don't keep it on. I don't keep it on while I'm just wandering around the office, do I?
Sometimes you keep it on when you're wandering around the house, though.
No, I don't. You know what I keep on doing, though? Because our lights are so low in our lounge, I keep on bumping my head on the... when I'm getting ready to leave for the day, I keep on bumping my head on the... It's not a chandelier, is it? Just a light, really.
Fixture.
Just a light fixture. I get bumping my head on a light fixture. So, never worn hats for us. Could we tempt you to wear a hat?
No.
Like a beanie.
Beanie. How about a beanie?
I once had one of them hats, you know, the ones with the ears on.
What are they called?
That was an extremely cold winter, though.
Was it?
But I had the hat with the ear things on.
Earmuffs. I think
No,
I think you'd suit a pair of bright pink
no, it's
earmuffs.
an all-in-one. It's an all-in-one hat.
Like they've got the
with
fuzzy
the
bits
earmuff.
there, and it's got the
Yeah.
bit over the top.
I can't because
Don't know what the name of those
I'm
are.
not a hat aficionado. I can't remember the name of any hats.
But-
the only one that springs to mind is Deerstalker because that's the one that Sherlock Holmes wears.
Even in the cold weather, my head seems to get so hot I have to take it off.
Do you take your head off?
No, the
How'd
hat.
you do that?
The hat.
It's
Right, so in
it's a
really
screw-on
cold
fixture.
weather,
Yeah.
you still have a hot head.
Yeah.
Right, you're out in like I don't know, -5. Is your head still hot?
Yes.
So what temperature would
Obviously, your body temperature,
yeah.
then while you're walking, goes up. And with a hat, it just itches me.
I'm not convinced.
I
If
don't
it was
like it.
-10, if it was -10, I'd have a
I don't
hot head.
I don't think I've ever been anywhere that's -10.
Right, okay, fair enough. What's the coldest experience you've ever had? And that's question 1. And question 2, did you still have a hot head?
Probably -2, -3. I've been at.
-2. Okay, interesting. Head still hot?
Yep.
Head still hot. Here's a challenge for you, right? Put your head in the fridge. Right. Put your head in the fridge.
Wouldn't
Why are you laughing?
Right, wouldn't it be the freezer? Because a fridge
Yes.
doesn't go to minus, it just goes to 0. If you put it in
The
a
freezer
freezer,
goes
it's
lower.
minus.
Perfect. Put your head in the freezer. Put it in the freezer, low as it can go, and just test and measure whether your head can get cold.
Why don't I take a shower in dry ice?
Perfect. Ooh, this is the way to do it. Open water swimming. Go open water swimming and see if you've still got
Yeah,
a hot head.
That's not a good measure of if you're walking around you have a hot head, is it? Because water seems colder. Even in the summer, the water seems
But
freezing.
I don't know, Russ. I don't think I've ever heard of somebody testing whether they got a hot head or not. I don't think it's a scientific experiment.
I
That
think it-
happens quite a lot. But I don't know anybody else who at -2, -3
I didn't.
has still got a hot head.
I didn't test it. It just felt hot with
Oh,
a hat on.
You
Right.
should have tested this before you brought this hypothesis to us.
Exactly. You haven't tested the hot head.
Where is your pilot study?
I know. And I love the phrase hot head hypothesis, don't you? That is amazing. Right? But here's my problem, right?
Stick that on the
You-
front of the thesis.
I want to get a t-shirt. Can we get some merch, some Carnage Project merch that just says hot head hypothesis?
So
That'd be amazing.
We've gone from cooking topless with Russ to hot head hypothesis.
Well, I mean that proves it gets hot really quick, doesn't it? Because I mean, like sort of,
or that he's just really memeable.
yeah, exactly. Russ and his cooking topless with Russ, and then the next show is Russ and his hot head hypothesis. We are just YouTube channels waiting to happen here, I've got to say. But this is the thing, right? Now, you did mention that you once wore a hat.
yeah.
How cold did it have to get for you to wear a hat?
No, that was the time. So I was wearing a hat out.
Go on, no, we're listening. We're listening. Go on.
I was wearing a hat. I was out.
You're out.
I had to take it off because my head got too hot.
It's the kindness project on the most boring show on earth.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Is that sorry, I thought we were doing a scientific test here. Is that your hypothesis? I was out once, my head got hot, and I took my hat off. Anyway. Russell. Oh, you know what? Russell is the genuine star of this show. Hot head Russ. Right. What we will do is actually
we're getting a crew t-shirt, the kindness project, and just underneath
hot head Russ. Hothead Russ and his hothead hypothesis.
Russ Hothead James.
Oh, now we
Yeah,
have
I'm going to change my Facebook name to that after this.
Hothead Russ. Yeah. You know what? What we need is just a picture of you. Have you ever seen the Pixar film with the guy? What was it? Set in the body Inside Out, where the guy's really angry
No, I
and his
haven't.
head just explodes and bursts into flames. I've just got this image of you taking your hat off, and because you got too hot, it's just on fire. Anyway, there is an official question of the podcast. How hot's your head? But Russ has always already answered that for all of us. It's clearly very hot. But the real question of the podcast is, what's your favourite saying? What like from a speech, from what is the thing where you go, you know what? That's really inspiring, really inspirational. I really love that saying or phrase. What's your favourite famous quote? What's yours, Russ? What do you reckon yours is?
If I have seen courage by standing on the shoulders of giants.
Love that. Really good. Charlotte?
You should have given me more time to think about this.
My one. I went out. It was cold. Took me out off. I went out. It was cold. Put me out on. Went out. I was warm. Took me out off. I was cold again, and that was it. No, genuinely, I think there are so many amazing
good
phrases,
examples.
and I am loving at the minute a book called The Daily Stoic, and it's full of Stoic philosophy. If you're into philosophy in any way, shape, or form, I'd certainly recommend you read it. And it's weird because normally I read through books probably too quickly to take everything in the book in. The discipline of this book, and clearly you can read it all the way through if you wanted to, is that it's designed to read just one page a day. And it's really, really good. So some of the Stoic phrases in that are amazing, including one of my favourites, the one I say quite a lot. This too shall pass.
Christ,
Love
so
that.
good now.
Love that. You don't like that one. You're not keen on that
We've
one.
heard it so many times.
I know.
now,
That's because
it's
I
just
like it.
God.
That's because I like it. But yeah, all good. But Standing on the Shoulders of Giants is another amazing one. Listeners, we'd love to hear your favourite saying or quote or phrase. Charlotte, where can people get in touch?
Righto, so we have a Twitter page, it's at Ola Kindness. We have a Facebook page. If you type the Kindness Project into the search bar, we should come up. If you type the Kindness Project podcast into the Google search bar, we should come up there too. Oh. If you want to go directly to the website, it's www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. If you want to email us, it's ola@kindnessproject.co.uk. If you want to get in touch with us,
If you'd like to speak to the dog, it's Dexter at the
it's
kindnessproject.co.uk.
dexter@awu.com. Awu. And if you would
actually make
Well, no, Dexter hasn't got his own email address. He doesn't get that many emails.
No.
But maybe we should set him an email address up. I don't know.
Dexter@hotmail.com. And if you want to get in touch with us on MySpace, please don't try. We have been banned. So
Yeah. Apparently, Russ's head was too hot for MySpace. They've got a minimum temperature on MySpace. You've got to have a cool head to use it. So Russ got. Did you get barred from? Have you been barred from a social media account, Russ?
No.
no, bit boring, Russ.
Bit boring, Russ. What if you could get banned from any? If you could get banned from a social media channel, what would it be, Russ?
What would it be for, or what social media channel would I?
Your choice. Your choice.
I'll probably say Twitter. I use it very little.
Okay, fair enough.
Wow.
We'll try and get you banned from Twitter then. Right. Let's move on. We've got kindness news, so let's crack on with that. And here is the jingle.
Kindness news.
And the first one is high school athletes. High school athletes shovel snow for their neighbours a special weightlifting assignment for football team. Students in Western Pennsylvania had a snow day, but instead of staying home or meeting for an indoor workout, these teens on a high school football team were instructed by their coach to get outside and help their neighbours. Coach Brian Belalio at Bethel Park High School near Pittsburgh took to Twitter to announce that Monday's weightlifting session in the gymnasium was cancelled, but he had an alternative assignment for the young men. Due to the expected severe weather, Monday's weightlifting workout has been cancelled. Find an elderly or disabled neighbour and shovel their driveway. That's our Monday workout. He also told the boys not to accept any money. By mid-morning, more than 27 of the athletes were texting photos to their coach, with some saying they were on their 6th driveway. One of the students even reported that his elderly neighbours were not accepting their non-payment requirement, insisting on a donation. What better workout than shoveling driveways, said Braden DeLuca, a junior on the team who went from house to house offering their services with teammate Colton Pufufa. It's just nice getting out there, helping out the community and helping out others that need help. And I like the idea of just staying a bit fit, but also just helping out people in need. So thank you for those guys for doing that. And kind of news number 2, UK supermarket Waitrose helps fight hunger and food waste in new scheme.
UK supermarket Waitrose has teamed up with food redistribution organisation FareShare to develop a new scheme which will redirect surplus farm food to families in need. Throughout lockdown, this has helped many vulnerable families. Sorry about that. Who have struggled through financially challenging times, providing important nutrition for those who would otherwise go hungry. Environment
Secretary George Eustace said food waste is one of the most significant environmental challenges that we face. I commend Waitrose, their suppliers and farmers who are working to help divert food to FareShare. You know what? It's really interesting. I think all supermarkets should do this, and on a greater scale than they do currently. Because you think about the amount of food that goes to waste at the end of a week or month, and the good that could do to particularly as in the UK, if you're listening to this abroad, there is more and more people who need to use the food banks and stuff like that. We really need to be supporting people in the UK better. Since the 1st of March, Farmshare and Waitrose have provided over 5 million surplus apples, cooked carrots, mushrooms and sweet baby sprouts in hope to create more than 1 million meals for vulnerable families across the UK. In addition, Waitrose has provided over 1 million British eggs and 22 tonnes of British beef in order to combat low levels of protein. Both these commodities were donated by Stonegate and Dovecot Park. On top of the scheme, the supermarket chain has been working in partnership with charity in other ways since 2017. By taking leftover food from their shops and letting other charities collect it using their app, for Waitrose, all of these combined efforts help build towards their commitment to halve their food waste by 2030. And it's never going to be perfect food waste, is it? You know, there's always going to be an element of it. But I think if the big corporates, big suppliers all work together to reduce it, that's got to be a good thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's definitely an issue that we're noticing more now. And it's definitely an issue we're working to combat more. And I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's never going to be perfect. But I think with little steps or like this that turn into bigger steps, this is going to become less and less of a...
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because like where you look at countries like the UK, which are relatively wealthy in the world, and you turn around and go, there shouldn't be anybody really who struggles to eat at night. Yet the prevalence of food banks and the amount of people who need to use them tell us that we do need to do better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all good. And on that note, that's kind of news. Well done to everybody involved in that. This week's interview is with Lisa Cable from Radfield. Now, I wanted to interview Lisa because I know that Lisa's business that specialises in home-based care for the elderly has values where kindness is really, really important in terms of everything they do. And as we've spoken about Waitrose and the work they do to help other people, I think all businesses could be kinder. Certainly, it's one of my values in my business. And I wanted to talk to Lisa about how we could potentially, as business owners, all be a little bit kinder. So let's listen to Lisa. Lisa, thank you for joining us today on the Kindness Project. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, really good.
Well, let's start with sharing that story because I think it's amazing. We had a previous guest, and I'll name her because she should get the credit for this story as well. Tamina, who did say that she thought Russ was my son. Now there's a 2-year age gap between Russ and I can't. But do I look that old? Am I aged that badly, Russ? He's going to stay quiet now. He's not going to comment.
I'm glad you asked Russ that question and not me, Chris, because I don't really want to comment because I'm not sure if I'd upset you or Russ. So we can go silent.
Yeah, all right. We'll quickly skip over that one if Russ ain't going to comment. Let's start with just a really open question. Tell us a bit about you.
Oh, so I'm Lisa Cable. I'm a mum of twins. So I've got 11-year-old twins, Neve and Elliot, who are, I don't know what you'd call them, but they're like the kind of, I guess, key people at the moment in my life, and love being around them, looking after them, supporting them in what they're doing. So that's kind of from a personal point of view, like who I see myself, I guess, at this stage.
So do you reckon mum's the most important job in your life at the minute?
Probably at the moment. I think it definitely changes at certain points, and I think that I'd want to say I'm obviously a wife as well to Paul, who, he's massively important to me too. And I kind of see it as it's the partnership of being parents, I think, is probably the really important thing. It's not necessarily just being a mum, it's being a parent with someone else, and, trying to keep those relationships kind of positive and especially when you go through kind of difficult periods of time in your life. And so I think it's the kind of the family unit, I think, is probably what kind of. And
I agree. I think it needs to be, certainly with Care Night, it's a partnership, and we couldn't do it any other way. Do you think, I mean, we're going to be talking a lot about values in our conversation. Do you think, certainly for me, I was probably less values focused before I became a dad, and then as my two have been born, and then I'm bringing them up, those values and the way that I live my life change because I'm now a role model. I'm responsible for teaching lessons to these young people. Do you reckon it changes as you get old, as you become a parent?
I think it does. I would say it's weird, like looking at some of the things we were going to discuss today and thinking about values, is probably my biggest value in life is fairness. Yeah. And I can remember feeling that as a young child.
So that came from your family?
Yeah, it came from my family, and I'm not quite sure where, but that feeling is, if I think Paul would probably disagree, I think I'm quite a laid back person generally. But if something to me doesn't feel fair, then it kind of brings out a bit of, I want to kind of address that, and I want to deal with that, and I want to give an opinion on that, because I like the feeling of kind of fairness. And I remember that as a child, and it probably didn't always come out in the best way when you're a child, because you kind of don't know how to always deal with your emotions, and you certainly wouldn't have thought of it in itself as a value, that's something that you hold to you. It's kind of how you deal with those sort of situations. But I think your values, when you kind of look back on them, you become more aware of them, I think, when you're a parent. But I think kind of when you look back on what they are,
they come from
they manifest,
what you've learned.
It comes from when you are young.
Yeah,
they form there, don't they? And then they start to kind of start to develop.
I don't know if I've ever told you the story, and it's one I'm writing the Kindness Project book at the minute. So the after sort of 4 years of interviews, I've got so many good stories of like stories I want to share that I've learned on the podcast. But when I think about that, sort of for us in the business, and we'll talk a little bit about sort of the way it manifests in the business, but one of our values as a business is do well, do good. And one of the first times I can remember that manifested itself. When I was 7 at primary school, I was sitting in assembly, and they said, we've got a special award for what we think is the kindest boy in school, right? Now, I don't know why I won this, but they said, Chris Jones, went up, got me a award, and they'd given me a do you remember those blue willow plates? Do you remember? I don't know why they gave me a plate, to be honest, but they gave me, it was like a Chinese bamboo.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I've got one from when I was a child. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So they gave me this plate as a gift, and I went home, and I've never seen my mum prouder.
Oh, that's so nice.
But anyway, I think I might have told you before, but Raz and I lost our mum a couple of years ago, and we because it was cancer and we knew it was terminal, we got to spend loads of time with her on the run up to losing her. And she said to me, look, I need to organise all this stuff that I've kept over the years. And she'd kept the plate.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Kept the plate. So we've got in the house now. And it's just, I suppose you're right, thinking about where those values come from, they're just from like experiences where they've been positively reinforced throughout your life, aren't they?
And do you feel like as a child that influence was from your mum as well? Is that, and that's probably why it made her proud, because that was she kind of her value as well, wasn't it? That she obviously tried to instill in you and your family. Yeah, I mean,
my mum was very community focused. She did loads like sort of just off her own back, just out of the kindness of her own heart, just to support other people. And I think, I if I'm being honest, I probably do a lot less than her in terms of having an impact directly. But I think some of the values about to give it a bit back, and if you're lucky enough to have done all right, you should give a bit back. I think that comes from mum. Where do you think it comes from for you?
I think it's funny. So my value, I'd say kind of my like 3 values are kind of relationships, family, that type of thing, fairness that we talked about, which is probably the biggest kind of personal one to me, and then kind of resilience or independence. And I think a lot of that will come from my nan. She was the person in the family that everyone would go to. You go there for Sunday dinners, she'd ration chocolate for you, she'd just make a whole kind of big thing about being, family, play games and things like that. So I think that kind of comes from her. The fairness definitely comes from her. She was, very, this is the way you do things, this is the way you treat people, be kind, be nice, whatever that looks like. And then I think resilience, for her, it was independent. She had her own mind, and I think bearing in mind her kind of respective age, she didn't mind sharing her opinions with people and things like that. And so I think that comes from her. I think probably from my kind of mum, my nan wasn't an emotional lady, and so she was very much the kind of, you put a brave face on things, a bit of a
stoic. Yeah.
That would be the right word. Now, I'm probably the reverse to that in some ways. I'm kind of emotional, wear my heart on my sleeve type of person. And that definitely comes from my mum. But my mum is also a really kind, lovely, loving person. And I think that just always having support of family kind of makes you feel kind of strong, and you can get through the difficult times. And so I think that probably those 2 sort of strong women, and they're not related, that was my dad's mum that I was talking about, having those people as really kind of key role models, I suppose, has kind of helped me. And just that feeling of wanting, of what you get when you do nice things for other people. Sometimes it's a bit selfish. It kind of makes you feel good that you're doing good for other people. But I think that obviously comes out in the way I kind of try to live my life. Who gets it right all the time? Probably nobody. But I think you just got to kind of try your best, and a lot of it just comes down to just wanting to have those relationships and those human connections and that type of thing. And family, I guess, for me, is where it kind of all starts and almost where it ends as well, because you kind of bring all that back, hopefully, into the...
And then hopefully you pass it on to the next generation to then like sort of adopt some of the stuff you think's important. But yeah, it's interesting. And often, you know, I suppose one of my biggest faults is that I'm very forward focused, and then I forget that actually all of it comes from what I've been told.
Yeah, and I think living in the present can be really important as well, can't it? Just appreciating the things that you've got kind of right now. Like you said, I lost my dad probably, well, it was two and a bit months ago now, and that's been a really profound impact that you just don't always kind of appreciate how that's gonna feel. Like, you can't even imagine it, I don't think, until it happens. But I think going back to the relationships that you've got and the people that support you, you know, there's so many people when you ask for help, or when you kind of have got a community of people around you, whether that's your family or the people you work with. It is really important to sort of be honest sometimes about how you feel, and having that family is just all key to all of that, really.
You know what's interesting is when my mum passed, Russ and I had a really open and honest conversation, because he was near mum, so he did a lot of the sort of caring for me mum over the sort of 2 years up to her passing. So he did an amazing job, and I felt it was important to support him and make sure that he had some purpose in his life. And you know what, Lisa, he'll go red me saying this, because it's lucky he's not on camera, but he has never ever let me down. So I think that support. Are you embarrassed yet, Russ? He's not going to come on.
I think not come on. Your kindness to him.
Well, I mean, you know what? No, it's not, because he's never like sort of. You know, I think there's got to be a relationship of fairness where you both win. You know, and hopefully by giving him the opportunity, we both have. But I think the big thing for me was you know that. If you want to call it kindness, that kindness has always been, repaid. And if it's not repaid, if I build a relationship where actually it feels a bit one-sided, it goes back to that fairness thing. I learn a lesson. You know, I learn a lesson about that particular individual, or how to do things differently in the future. And yeah, it's all lessons learned, isn't it? Saying that. Now, now Russ has been called my son. I'm going off him a bit. So, talk to me. We've talked a little bit about you personally. We've talked about family. Talk to me about the business. What do you do?
So we support mainly older people within the community, and really kind of the purpose of our business is to help people age well, and it's really about by helping them remain connected to the things that matter to them. So for us, it's about really understanding the people that we support, that we work with, and understanding, you know, all of those facets about that person, really, because unless you do that, you can't really understand what helps them be connected.
Yeah.
And human connection, as we know, is really, really important. You know, loneliness and things like that come through a lack of human connection at certain points, and just being able to help support people through those challenging periods of their lives, really important. And we also focus on the relationships that we have and that the families have with their own families. So often the people that we work with, that they're family members in crisis possibly, but they're also in a crisis of sorts of their own, because they're trying to manage and balance possibly their family, the needs of their parents, trying to do the right thing, possibly having those feelings of, I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough. You know, it's very complicated. And this whole kind of feeling of you're a son and a daughter, but you're also a carer is quite hard to kind of navigate, I think, for everybody really, in that whole sort of process.
I mean, my experience sometimes with working with my clients is they're in the middle because they might have, and I've got examples of clients I work with this, kids that are still dependent. So they're part of that sort of sandwich generation where mum and dad are getting older and they're still looking after kids. It's a huge challenge. But part of the reason that I wanted to talk to you today is to talk a little bit about how being kind and running a business intersect. Now, I had a really interesting conversation about this yesterday with a guy who runs a charity. And he made a comment to me, and again, perfectly innocent, and he was being really genuine about the way he sees the world. He said, I moved out of business and industry and into the charity sector because I wasn't mercenary enough to be in business. And I had to say to him, actually, I just don't believe that to be true, because I firmly believe that you can do well financially, run a business, build a team, do all that sort of good stuff, and do good. Do you think it's possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't do what I did, I suppose, if I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
I think it can be a challenge in the sort of sector that we work in with caring. You need to kind of also think of what you do as a business, because clearly, in order to run a successful business, you've got to make sure it's profitable and, kind of be considerate of all those things. And when you're working with people, you always feel like you could and should possibly do more, but you need to kind of have that as
have some boundaries.
Have boundaries, yeah. And that can be really hard. And I'm the sort of person that I have kind of limited, like I don't have a lot of boundaries. And I think that's really one lesson that I've learned. In order to really build a sustainable business, you do need to kind of have some sort of boundaries, and also to also have a business where you've got a bit of a work-life balance. You've got to have boundaries. And at certain points, I've probably had it wrong. COVID obviously has meant that a lot of the team have spent a lot of time obviously working in the business, and that has certainly meant kind of family sacrifices and things like that. So I think that those things are really important. I think we do good by, personally, I think, at Radfield, we do good by living and working towards our family, the values that we've got within the business, and kind of that is really important to us. So I think you can do good, and I don't think business necessarily needs to be mercenary to kind of use that term, but I think you just got to be clear about what you're trying to kind of achieve as a result of it, and what you're focused on. And our focus really is to make sure we treat our staff really well, that we get that element of our business right, because for us, our team, our carers, our care professionals, the people that are out there looking after the clients, are kind of really key to clearly the success of our business. But also, if they're happy and understood, and they get the things that they need from us, then that we know that they can help our clients in a really meaningful way. So I think it's just a constant thing, isn't it? It's a constant
balance.
And I think for us, we just see it's a constant thing. We're just continually trying to get better. We haven't got it all right straight away, but we learn.
And there's no such thing as perfect, is there? As long as you're trying to aspire to get as good and as good as you can be as a business, that's really important. But I think one really important point, and one that's often neglected, is I am a firm believer in, be kind to other people and help other people, but make sure you're kind to yourself, because then you've got more energy to give back. And I think sometimes as business owners, that's what we miss, isn't it? That bit where we want to help, support, and give, but then you turn around and go, well, hold on, if I'm not, balanced and happy, I can't do all that consistently, because I'm going to burn out.
And I think I experienced that when I left my job prior to setting up Radfield. I was at that point where I was kind of really burnt out. I worked for a lovely company. It was great, and it wasn't really anything to do with them. But I'd worked in London for 20 years since I was 16, just to say that I'm not. Since I was 16, and so I got to the point where it had been my kind of formative years. I'd worked, if you like, and worked in that environment, and then my adult years, and I kind of got to the point where I actually just didn't like doing what I was doing anymore. And it wasn't really anyone's fault, but I think it was that and I had an illness, and I think that illness made me then go, okay, evaluate what I'm doing. And I think it is a bit of a shame that for most people, it does take a crisis in some way or another for that reevaluation to happen. And kind of that's what happened to me. And so I am more cautious now about just trying to make sure that I don't burn out, because like you say, you do need to be able to, you need to kind of have the energy yourself to do it. So like, I do love a bit of kind of personal development and kind of just working on understanding myself as well, so you can then also better understand the kind of people around you and things like that. So
I mean, it's interesting because I did 20 years odd, like in various corporate jobs and in the city. I'm not going to say how old I was when I started. Just ask me son. He'll tell you. But I'm desperate for Russell to get involved in he never gets involved in podcast interviews, Lee. So I'm just like coaching him, like encouraging him to come in. Talk to him. We've had a little conversation about your values and why they're important. And I suppose one of the things that I'm really sort of conscious of, because funny enough, our values, like my values personally, do reflect in the business, and mine, we share a value, and that is fairness. You know, fairness is really important to us. We've got, funny enough, focus on improvement, that continuous development stuff. We've got fun because we like to sort of make sure that we're enjoying what we do, and then do well, do good, which is about, you know, making sure that giving back is enshrined in what we do as a business. But basically, that's what I try and teach my girls. You know, that's where those values come from, and they're manifested in the business in different ways. In my business, Savello, how do your values manifest in your business?
So kind of the values of the business are, funny enough, we are a family, and that means that we try to treat people like their family. Yeah. You know, I think you hear a lot of kind of caring companies say that type of thing because of the kind of images that it generates for people. But I think that it's something that we truly live by. So for us, it shows up in the way that we treat our staff, the way that we look after our clients, the things that we do for our clients that go kind of above and beyond what we would see as kind of a traditional support that they might expect. So that's clearly one of them. And then we're on your side. So I think that is all about kind of fairness as well. We're on your side. We advocate for the people that we support. So if we see they need something, you know, we'll advocate with different healthcare professionals to get that. We kind of see that support is there for them as well. So it's not just about the care, it's about kind of helping them get what they need, or advocating for themselves when they maybe can't do that, you know, on their own. And then we're proud of what we do. So that, to me, again, kind of lines a little bit with the independence, the resilience. You're proud of what you do. You kind of embody it. You give your all to it. You kind of
do your best.
You do your best. You kind of bounce back when things are tough, because it really is a tough industry at certain points to work into. And then it's just about trying to, you know, it's not just about me saying that they're our values, it's about the rest of the team kind of living by them as well. Recruiting the right people that support those values is obviously a massive part of that. And I think for me, we can all talk about values, and we can all talk about kind of how they are, and we can put it in the literature that we talk about our company. It's about how you live it. If you live it, you live it. And again, it's not about perfection, because I'm sure there's areas where people might say, oh, you know, this could be better. And that's true in all aspects of our life. But it's just about living them, breathing them, taking action towards, you know, being that way. And that is where it kind of comes back, if you like, kind of full circle, I think.
So what did you think of the first part of the interview?
It was good. I can't wait for the second part.
Yeah, it'll be good. That'll be next week. And on that,
Tis the end of another podcast. But the end is never truly the end, because the end is always the beginning of something entirely new. And our entirely new this week is last week's question of the podcast, as it is every week. And last week's question of the podcast, answered by yours truly, and you guys, is what's your favourite canned drink?
now Charlotte and I have said we both love Lil because of its totally tropical taste. But we had a bunch of different answers, all of them valid, apart from Iron Brew. David Forsyth said, what? Iron Brew is not a valid answer, is it? Bas, remind us, what's your favourite soft drink?
Pepsi Max.
Pepsi Max is a
Saying
Pepsi
Iron
Max
Brew's
fan.
not a valid answer.
It's not a valid answer. David Forsyth said Ting. I've never had a Ting. Keely Benning said Cherry 7-Up. David Bowley said Cherry Coke. Eve Keith said Rio. Ricky Addy said San Miguel. Tam Kane said she loves Lil, but have you tried a Rubicon?
No.
I always see Rubicon
The canned
for
ones
sale.
it's nice. The bottled ones are nice, but the canned ones
But would you have a Lil or a Rubicon?
a little.
Okay, fair enough. I won't try Rubicon then. Serena said a Diet Coke. Alison said cream soda. Now, I love cream soda. Absolutely adore cream soda. Carol Staunton said a Rio. John Cook said a Breeder. I think that's a beer. Sharon Hirsch said, can it be alcoholic? I'm going with Copperberg. Kusel is up for a Fever Tree tonic. Gemma Playford said a Cherry Coke. Brian said a can of whoop ass. I don't know.
Can of water.
I don't know if that. Yeah, you like that canned water soap, don't you? With the little weird top. Sandra Connington said, I don't have canned drinks, but I agree that Fever Tree is nice, but only with a gin. Caroline Thompson said orange Fanta. Emma Stevens said Diet Coke Lime. Stacey Keane said cherry Coke or Dr Pepper. Justin Gaffney said old Jamaican ginger beer. Again, not one I've had. Carol Hussey said no fizzy drinks for me, but I'll have a G&T and a tonic. Pedro Floyd said Kariba. Kariba. Nicola Taylor said Diet Coke. Karen said Fizzy Ribena. Steve Chilton said San Pellegrino Blood Orange. Now, I was at the gym this morning.
Oh,
My
I love
treat.
the San Pellegrino Blood
Now, I like San Pellegrino Classic. My Sunday morning treat coming out the gym, San Pellegrino. I love it. Mandy Medlock said Pepsi Max. Karina Murray said a Milo. I don't know. I've never had one of them. Ian Brazier said, I'm surprised no one said Iron Brew yet.
Iron Brew!
Benjamin Fox said cream soda and tab clear. Josh Cartwright said root beer. I love it. I used to love a root beer and cream soda. Lorraine Hornsby said San Pellegrino. And Johnny Hall said a Bing. That, my friends, is what everybody's favourite soft drink is. And that is the end of another podcast. Say bye.
Bye.
Say bye.
Bye!
Have a lovely week, and we'll see you next time on the Kindness Project. Bye.